Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today we are going to have a look at the Tesla Cannon. So the Tesla Cannon is on the season board. It is the Scientific Forge update. Tesla Cannon itself is on page 4 of the rewards, along with, what do we have? The alternate current muzzle mod is also on that same page. On page 6, you have the barrel mods. On page 7, you have the magazine mods. And the sight mods are on page 9. I wanted to wait until I had all of the mods available to me before I could unlock them, and it turns out I didn't even use the sight mods. Now we'll have a look at it on the workbench because the way you mod this will actually depend on a couple of things. Number one, the legendary effects that you have and how you want to use it. So as far as receivers go, there's only one, just the default receiver. There's no options there. So first of all, we have the barrel mods. Now I pretty much will go with Edison Series 2, I think all of the time. The difference is fire rate and damage. So Edison Series 2 has fire rate of 9. You can see what the damage is. If we go to Series 1, the fire rate goes up from 9 to 10, which I don't think you're going to notice, but you lose a little bit of damage, so I think it's a no contest there. Now, as far as the Nikola mods, it's kind of the same thing, only it's a little more noticeable. So the damage drops more and more as you choose between Series 1 and Series 2, but the fire rate goes up. So we have 9 on the Edison Series 2, goes up to 14, you lose some damage, goes up to 19 with Nikola Series 2, but you lose even more damage. If this went up to a lot, say it was maybe 4 times the fire rate, I think it would be a consideration. But the fact that the fire rate only goes up to 19, I mean, it is double, but it's still only 19. So I would rather just go for as much damage as I can get and take that 9 fire rate. So next we have the ammo capacity. The default is 60. The huge is 120. The penalty is a little bit of, 10% slower reload, which isn't that much. I'd rather go for double ammo capacity, especially when this fires 5 per shot. So at the default, we can fire 12 shots before we have to reload. Huge lets us fire 24. So that is a pretty significant difference. So I'm always going to go with huge here. As far as the sights go, I'm playing this in VATS, so I'm not using the sights at all, but I guess if you're manual aiming, maybe one of these might appeal to you, but they do have a higher AP cost, so if using them in VATS, actually, the night vision doesn't, but yeah, if you're using these in VATS, I'm just going to go with the standard sight, because those add weight as well. Okay, so stock assembly, that's how it comes without modded. I don't think you want to use this. I think you either want to go with direct current or alternate current. So direct current is explosive. It has an area of effect that is affected by Demo Expert, and if you have the explosive second, legendary second star, it will increase the damage even more. A couple of downsides to this one. Number one, since it is explosive, you can actually do self-damage, and it is quite bright. So if you're using it in an event, this could be, even if you're up close, actually, if you're shooting enemies up close, it can blind you. Definitely can blind other people if using this in an event. it looks really cool, but if you have light sensitivity at all, this may not be the way you want to go. The alternate current muzzle is not explosive. It's basically like a Tesla rifle. It just has a Tesla arc. And at that point, having a second star that's explosive actually doesn't increase the damage at all. So if you have explosive on the second star, you either don't want to use this option because it's basically dead, or you want to change that second star out to something else that you'll actually get a benefit from. And as you can see, alternate current, the damage is actually down from direct current, but the damage on enemies that it arcs to is actually pretty nice. So I haven't really noticed a huge difference in terms of effectiveness. They're both, I think, really good. So it kind of just depends on how you want to use it and what your legendary effects are. So I will be testing 2 different versions of this. This is the one we are looking at on the workbench. It is anti-armor, explosive, reduced AP cost. And the 4-star is really having a hard time figuring out what to do just because not a lot. A lot of the 4 stars on weapons just are very specific, like for poison damage or fire damage, something like this. I decided to go with pinpointers because a lot of times targeting head, if you're targeting head, great, but also targeting arms and legs often is a very high percent chance to hit. So pinpointers actually seems to work pretty well. And this is the other one. It is anti-armor with extra critical damage, reduced AP cost, and also pinpointers. The only difference between the two is I have this one modded with alternate current, and the other one is direct current. Now, this is a heavy gun, so we do have all the heavy gunner perks equipped. And I'll be using Demolition Expert. Now, Demolition Expert will only benefit the one that we have direct current on, not alternate current. Also, this is an energy weapon, but it is not benefited by the science perks. And I'm using Grenadier. It will affect both the explosive radius on the direct current and the arc distance on the alternating current. And where I have the missing points, that's just bullet shield and ricochet removed because I don't want them to kill the enemies before I have a chance to shoot them. So the first one we're going to try out is the one with direct current, and this does have explosive on the second star. Now, using this in first person, it does block your view pretty well, so we are going to go with third person here and see how we do. Now, against most enemies, what I found is this is very... tends to make pretty quick work. We'll target the legs with that. You can see we've already taken half the health of the mutant hound, and that was a torso shot. We didn't even need to do limbs on that one. So the obnoxious sound it makes, which I'm not sure how well that'll come through on the recording, but it does have this constant sound that can kind of get to you. I'm sure if you're on PC, there are mods for that. There we go. So, ooh, almost had him. I bet I could bash him for the last little. There we go. Don't need to do that, but we can. All right, do some legs in here, especially with super mutants because the, you know, the hitbox on the head is so small. It's often not a very high % chance. So with that pinpointers effect, we'll do some leg shots there. But if we're up close and personal, you can see but you can see how bright it is, right? He was right up in my face, and I'm kind of blinded. So that is definitely something to consider. And the nice thing is now, because of the way legendary crafting, you can see most of his health is gone just from the area of effect, and sometimes it'll just miss. But that is one of the nice things about the legendary crafting system that we have. If you want to run it the other way and you have explosive on that second star, you can just change that out. This actually can work pretty well as a manual aim, even without, you know, I don't have any sights on it. Let's see, there we go. Let's do a manual aim if he'll slow down. There we go. I mean, you can see manual aim is quite potent. In fact, it may be a little bit stronger. The two downsides on this that I think are the fire rate, which is pretty slow. I think it has to be, just because the damage is so high. You really wouldn't want to have a weapon like this with a high fire. I mean, you'd want that, but it would really unbalance things a bit, and the constant noise. All right, so now we're going to look at the one with alternating current. I think this one, now I have critical damage rather than explosive. The other stars are the same. Now, I think for this one, when you have enemies that are kind of spread out, I think well, not spread out, like clustered, but spread out. But you can see I did 300 damage on some, 350. So I vaporized a thing that I couldn't even see. So you can see the arc works actually pretty well. We have that, and that didn't arc too. Okay, he was almost dead from the arc. But you can see, even though the damage is down, it's still, now that was a critical. Even though the damage is down, it's still really good. So let's do that. And you can see it's a lot less blinding. Even when you're up close, if we get really close to the enemy, it's still not, see, we're not being blinded. And even manual aiming, I mean, manual aiming is very strong. But in terms, like, if you're light sensitive at all, I think this is definitely the mod you want to run. The other one is very blinding. I was in, what was it, Eviction Notice, and there's a section kind of by the rad scrubber with this little shack, and inside the shack, super mutants will spawn. And I was in there, and somebody was shooting one that had the direct current mod on it. And, oh, I couldn't see a thing. So definitely with other players, I mean, some people care about that, other people don't, but that is something to consider, how you want to run this. I actually think I like this a little better, even though the damage is down. I just think, and the range, as you can see, the range on this is really good. Right, so we're gonna switch back to the blinding variant because I want to see. Oh, that was interesting. Now, one thing about using the explosive is you get blocked by you know how explosive are in this game. You get blocked by pretty much anything. Let's try a head on him since they tend to be pretty tanky. Wow, okay, that's a level 75 and 2 hits, so that's pretty good. There we go. But it is kind of a blinding thing. You can always take off Grenadier to reduce the area of effect, but I think you're just, you're kind of hurting yourself with that one. I'd rather run it with Grenadier than without. And yeah. And almost took all of his health. But really, we're here for the Mirelurk Queen. I kind of want to see how this goes, and I think because this is explosive, I don't need to throw a grenade. I could just shoot right into there, and that'll wake her up. How about that? Pretty nice. Let's see what this does with, let's shoot something that's a little bit, there we go. So the critical hits are hitting it for 1,000, I think. Yeah, 1,100. So, wow, okay. Making pretty quick work of her, although that shot didn't seem to do, let's see if we do a manual. Yeah, wow. So pretty quick work of her. Tanky target, not really much of a problem. All right, so now we have switched back to the alternating current, and I want to see how we do. The fact that it has such a nice range, I want to see how we do against something that's flying. See if we can actually be effective against a Scorch Beast. Let's do you, and oh wow, that one just showed up right in front of me. I think I like this one better, even though the damage is down. The, oh, we have a robot. Ah, okay. I forget. There's ditches. You can fall in the ditches if you're not, yeah, just like your mom always warned you. Let's see, if we go over here, we can fight robots and a Scorch Beast all at once, which I think is nice. Let's do that. Let's see how we do against robots. With the alternating, okay, wow, I think we killed him. All right, let's do headshots here, because that is their weak. Wow, that's some nice damage. That was a critical hit, that 2,000 damage, but you can see, this makes pretty quick work. They do have a lot of health. So let's see, that's an appendage. Sometimes it doesn't hit anything. But pretty much anything, at least so far, anything that I found just doesn't really hold up very strongly against this. We got something else shooting at us. I don't know what it is. And there we go. All right, there we go. I don't have, whoa, 2 for 1, nice. So one more thing I failed to mention when it comes to the muzzle options. The direct current, if you see in the description of the weapon, the last line reduces target's damage resistance by 20% for 6 seconds. So if you do use the direct current muzzle, it will actually debuff the enemy for anybody else that's attacking. So in a group setting, this could actually be pretty useful. But the question will come up, what about raids? How is it in raids? And I will say the answer kind of depends on how you're doing it. If you want to solo it and you're just going to use this as your weapon, it's not something I would recommend. We're just going to do the first encounter here. I can't really solo the whole raid. But for this particular part, I do want to re-equip Bullet Shield and Ricochet, because without these, I probably wouldn't survive very well. Plus, they also contribute a lot of damage. So for the first part, we'll start off with this one, the one that's explosive with direct current. Again, we want to go into third person just because I want to see what I'm doing. And it actually does, like, I found the damage to actually be pretty good. The problem is just the fire rate is just not there for this to be a solo experience. But if we are part of a team and we're doing this, we can actually do okay. I mean, you can see Bullet Shield. I mean, this is, wow, okay. Let's heal up right here. Bullet Shield and Ricochet are what's really doing the bulk of the damage. But we'd be applying a debuff. So if our teammates are, assuming the debuff works, that is, can't really test that as a solo thing. So as you can see, the damage isn't really all that amazing. Let's switch up to the other one though and see if that makes a difference. All right, so no more explosives. So let's see how this does. If it does, yeah, it's really not really moving the needle at all. I mean, the damage numbers are good, but it has a lot of health. It's the fire rate that gets in the way. If this had a high fire rate, this could actually be pretty reasonable. But with the fire rate that it has, it just is not enough. Plus you get tired of pushing the button, pulling the trigger, however you used to control it, over and over again. But you can see, I mean, Bullet Shield and Ricochet are doing a lot of work. They're doing pretty much all of the work. The amount of, it doesn't really move the needle when I shoot this. So really in a boss fight, I would say this is probably more of a support weapon than as your only weapon. You probably want to use something else. All right, now we got a shield down. I am kind of curious how much damage we could do to him. Probably not that much. And it'll be more obvious since we're not using, I mean, you can see the damage numbers are good. 3,400 on a critical hit. I mean, I do have more critical damage on that. But the fire rate is just, you know, if I could have a sustained fire, that would be great. But you can see I'm just not really moving the needle just because he has so much. Wow, those are big numbers and his health bar is just not really moving at all. Now, I'm not going to finish this fight. I'm just going to let myself die because, you know, this is, this would take all day for me to go at it this way. And my vision is starting to blur and I'm seeing 2 of everything. And this is right. This is the part where, yep, there we go. So I would say for raids, this is probably not the weapon you want to use other than to apply a debuff and then switch to something that just has a higher fire rate. But against everything else, I haven't found anything that's even remotely a match for this weapon. It just absolutely obliterates everything. And that's regardless of which muzzle option you want to go with. I found them to be equally effective, even though they operate a little bit differently. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit one of the buttons, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.